Cisco 49 is deep in the heart. Like Joe Montana in the corner, deep Clark. Garrison Hurst, stiff farm going 99. Don't get it twisted, one and all with prime time. John Taylor, Jerry Rice down the side.
Hello and welcome to Draft Night Live from the 49er Faithful UK show. I'm Gareth Ellis, and if you are being a bit observant, you will see that we are, sadly, a man down this evening. Nadji can't join us. He's had a long week away throwing guitars at people, so he's spending the night with his family, but hopefully we might see him lurking in the comments. So no awesome foursome, but I am, of course, joined by the gruesome twosome. And
the gruesome twosome, huh?
As a quick homage to all those players whose names we're going to butcher this evening, it's Powell Hoppy.
Good evening.
And Lee Goulaned.
Hey, that wasn't too bad, that wasn't too bad. I've been called that plenty of times before.
Really? Oh, well, there we are.
I have.
So, lads, not feeling like Christmas Eve to me, really. Usual draft night excitement. Not me. Bit flat.
Yeah, I think you could pretty much say that. Obviously, we don't have we don't have a pick in the first round. Although, you know, it's still early days. We don't know what's going to happen. There's been talk of trades all week. Although I'll be honest, I don't think anything is. I don't think we're going to trade a player. I definitely don't think we're going to trade a player. I don't think we have enough draft capital to move up beyond 75, 70, anything like that. I don't think it's going to be a particularly exciting draft as far as that is concerned. But having said that, I mean, all four of us last year turned around and said there's absolutely no way in God's green earth that we're going to pick 11 players. And then sure enough, we picked 11 players. So what do we know?
Very little, I think.
Yeah, very little, indeed.
I don't know that anyone really does. Not picking where we're picking.
No, I think it is it's a shot in the dark. And what I would say about this mock draft tonight, some of it is going to be tongue-in-cheek. We don't follow the college game enough to know the talent, but we do watch the other shows. We read the articles. We know who's good, who's not. So we'll give it a good go, and we'll try and entertain you as we go along. One request: if you're on Facebook and you're commenting, just stick your name in brackets before you comment, because what we can see, as you can see on the screen there, is Facebook users. So we've no idea who that is. It'd just be nice to know who's commenting, because obviously it's somebody in the group. And then we can, if you ask a question, we know whose question we answering. Yeah, I've lost it already. It's going to be a fun night. It's going to be a fun night. I'm going to make it a fun night.
And while it's rather damp and rainy in the UK, some of our UK faithful members are over in Kansas City. Lee, any final words of advice? Not that they should be watching.
Advice? No, just enjoy it. Take it all in, enjoy it. Lisa, so I set up a group for them. So there's four of them over there. There's Lisa and Ryan Lawrence. Ryan is Lisa's son. Lisa used to live in the UK. I think it was for about 15 years. And I think it was just before COVID that they went back to the States. And we've also got Luke Jones and his partner, Claire Blake. They've had a couple of days in New York before heading down to Kansas to enjoy the draft. Lisa and Ryan are getting ready to head out, and I think they're going to meet both Luke and Claire up at the inner circle, where Luke has the spare flag for Lisa. Lisa had misplaced hers. Luckily enough, we had somebody who lives not too far away from Luke, 10-minute drive, who was willing to give up their flag, take it round to Luke so that he could take it across for Lisa. And I've already replaced that flag, so I've sent him a flag and some other goodies for putting himself out there and being a good sport about it. So I've done that. And yeah, what I would say is enjoy it, because before I went, I mean, even when we came back, both me and Nadji had thought, well, if it wasn't for the fact we were in the inner circle, I don't think we'd have paid to go over to the draft, because I don't think it's value for money for the UK sports fan, because it's expensive. It's an expensive thing to do. I mean, had I gone over to Kansas this year, it was going to be a little bit over $1,000 for the hotel, the flights. Vegas was $1,600 for me, so that was really expensive. But I would never ever complain about paying that £1,600. Well, that's because of what happened to me. If I was just going to go over there and be one of the crowd at the back, then I'll think twice about it, unless it's a city that I really wanted to go and see. If it was in New York or Chicago, those type of cities, I'd probably justify it in my own mind to get over there.
What are you saying about Kansas?
So I don't know much about Kansas, but funny enough, I did check it out, and it does look as though it's quite a nice place. I hadn't realised, but I do have friends living in Kansas, and I only found that out in the last couple of days. I thought they lived. Where did I think they live? I thought they lived in Tennessee, but they don't live in Kansas. So there you go.
And Paul, how are you doing? If you can get a word in.
No, to be honest, Gareth, Lee got a taste for the live action on Tuesday. He stepped in for the main man, Mr. Ludlam, who I can let everyone know is feeling better, and hopefully he'll be back in the hot seat on Tuesday. I'm on the same page as you, Gareth. Draft day's come around. I was putting some tweets out from the group account earlier, and I will be watching draft day at some point today or tomorrow. But because we're not picking until pick 99, and with it being Kaylee's 16th birthday on Saturday, I've kind of found myself caught in between catching glimpses of shows and updates on social media. But I feel a bit lost because Lee hasn't pepper bombed our group chat with his 3,675 PFF mocks, and Nadji's been very quiet, and he's my college go-to. And because I don't watch a lot of college football, I'm glad you've said at the start, we're coming into this bit tongue-in-cheek. We've wanted to go live to give the faithful, obviously, a mock draft and the chance to comment. And Mike's jumped in there, Lee, and put that, even though he knows this is a mock draft show, have we thought of any clothing, fleeces, hoodies? Because you've got the market going now, Lee, with the flags and the patches.
Yeah, so I think we are going to make some progress on that this year. A good few years ago now, probably it was about 4 years ago, I started trying different places who would produce our logo. I bought a hoodie, I bought a couple of T-shirts, and to be honest, I wasn't particularly impressed with the quality of them, which is why I didn't offer them out to the rest of the group. And they weren't cheap either. I mean, the hoodie came in at £35, and when it came, I was quite disappointed with that. So what I feel is what I need to do, if I'm going to offer that out to the group, is find somebody, get an example, so pay for it myself, get one, find out if the quality is good enough, and then open it up to the group. Because the last thing I want to do is find somebody, not have a sample of it, and then people start ordering all this kit, these hoodies for like £35-40, only to find out it's not very good. Because it doesn't look good on us, and to be honest, it'll make me feel crap if people were buying all this rubbish and it wasn't good enough. But we will try and get there. I've got a new flag supplier, who's a lot cheaper than the original one. So I'm going to reach out to them in the next few days, not ask them for a sample. I'm going to buy a flag. See what the quality's like. If the quality, I think, is good enough for what we use it for, which is essentially the flag and just waving it about, then potentially we'll switch over to that supplier as well, which means flags are now more accessible to people who really can't afford the £20 or the £25. So hopefully that'll get a lot more flags out.
And to be fair, Gareth, you joined us live on Tuesday. You were keeping an eye to make sure we weren't letting anything go. Look at Lee's wall. We've all tuned in tonight to see that masterful gold wall, and he's covered it with a couple of flags. What's going on?
You can see it over the back there. You know, I was quite proud of this gold wall when I painted it. I think I was more proud because it took us so long to paint it, 5 coats. But yeah, I'm already sick of it, and it's only like 2-3 years into being on the walls. So yeah, that might be getting changed for a neutral colour. I don't know. I might have a complete change round at the back. It's just too cluttered over my shoulders. Yeah.
It can't be too cluttered. And good to see a load of people have joined us this evening. Hello, everybody. You're sending us the greetings.
Yeah, a few people in the chat. So Thomas has joined us from Copenhagen. I'll put the chats on. I'm not going to go through and read them all because what the good people want, Gareth, is the mock draft. That's what they've come here for. So
well, we've got a little bit of time. We've got to milk it before that. I think something even better, perhaps, than being at the draft is our live watch-along tomorrow night. Lee, tell us how to get involved.
So the live watch along, the virtual Zoom meeting or the virtual watch party, if you go into the event page, there'll be a button in the bottom right hand corner of the graphic, and that's it. I think it says click here. I can't remember what it says. If you click there, it'll take you to the registration page. You have to register because that'll fire off an email to Sarah McClelland, and she has to individually accept every single registration to send them out the code. Because, excuse me, what happened 2 years ago, we kind of had an open Zoom meeting, and we had all these random people joining that had nothing to do with the group. And it was a little bit strange, to say the least. So we're trying to keep it to just the people that are members of the group. So I just want to pick up on a couple of ones. So fast forward to the 99 pick lads. So what we're going to try and do, or the way we're going to do it, apparently I'm going to be the GM. Who's going to be the offensive coordinator? Did you make a choice? So Gareth has got the offensive. No, Paul, you're pointing. You're not sticking your finger up saying me, right? No. So Paul's the OC, Gareth's the DC, and I think the way they're going to do it is they're going to basically tell me what position they need, and I need to draft somebody. Is that right, guys?
Yeah, I think so. Pretty much, we can make a case.
However, you are GM, Lee, so you do have final say. You might overrule me, my good friend Gareth.
Yeah. So as well as doing the draft, and I've put it on slow so we can set it off and talk through that, but potentially, depending on the first pick, I don't want to start it yet in case... I don't know who's going to go first, Paul or Gareth, in case either one of them want to trade up for somebody. Of course, I'm going to overrule that because I'm looking at the cap space as well, and 3 million for 11 players seems pretty good to me. But as well as that, is there any people in the thread that collect cards, trading cards? So while I was over in San Francisco last November, on the journey down to San Jose to watch San Jose and Hawaii, I had a conversation with Nick Ludlam, and he did a very good job at trying to twist my arm into becoming a trading card collector, but he didn't quite do enough. However, this week I have actually bought. I have bought a box of trading cards. I want to know what it's all about. I don't know. I don't know what to expect. Don't know what emotion I'm going to have when I open these. So we decided, because they've only arrived today, I'll open them up. What did you get in the box? I haven't opened it yet, man. Nick, give us a chance, man. So I'm going to open them up, and because the 6 packs in, we'll take 2 picks. I'll open one, take 2 picks. You get the gist, yeah? And I'll open them up, and somebody can tell us what I'm looking at, because honestly, I have no idea. If I go back to when I was a kid and I used to collect football stickers, the Panini stuff, I used to get excited about getting a shiny. I don't know if you called it that. We called them shinies. Yeah. You opened it up, you saw a shiny. That was it. That made your day. And I used to buy them on the way to school. So all day at school, I was happy after getting a shiny. I've been down to know all day. So have I. Honestly, when they turned up, I started to regret the decision to open them up live on the program, because, like I said, I have no idea what I'm looking at. I'm just looking. So I did get some at the draft last year. I can't remember where I put them. I got some from the draft last year. Give me a second. You two talk amongst yourself while I find them.
So, to be fair, Gareth, I do have a collection. Mine isn't as extensive as some of the group. I have very limited funds when it comes to the trading cards. The Chancellor of the Exchequer has put a limit on me. So for me, I focus on particular people, players. So I've got a couple of Kaepernick signed cards. I've randomly got an Eric Reed signed card because I was quite high on him in the draft. Yeah. And my marquee ones are in the cabinet behind me. But I know the likes of Ash Sugden, Nick Ludlam, they have really expensive cards, really nice collections. And as Danny's put at the bottom there, he used to collect them in the early 90s, but it's a slippery slope. So again, I think it's one of those, it kind of comes with a warning. Just stick to your budgets, be careful. I've seen some horror stories, people getting ripped off on eBay, but equally, one thing I love about our group and community is when I dipped my toe into the card collecting, people were sending me cards, people were talking to me. So if you're watching this and you're unsure, and we're all watching Lee scavenge around his man cave looking for his cards, just drop us a DM and we'll point you in the right direction. So God knows what he's looking for, Gareth.
Who knows? We've had a few questions, I think, come up on the Facebook group. I've held off from answering anything because I knew we need to save a little bit for tonight. Rumoured of a Trey Lance trade keeps sort of hovering around, particularly the Texans. Can you see John having a busy night tonight, or is it just all nonsense?
He might move up without draft picks or move around the board without draft picks. I can't honestly think we're going to trade any players. At least for me, what success looks like is we keep all the players that we've got. We don't trade a player. If we move about the port, then fine. Happy with that. I trust John implicitly, but I'd be really disappointed if we do end up trading somebody. There's no way we're trading Debo. His dead money is just far too high. Even Trey Lance, it's reasonably high. Somebody mentioned that if we trade him but do a post June the 1st designation, then it reduces the dead money by $3.5 million. I'll be honest, I don't know how trades work well enough to understand that. I didn't think you could do that. I thought once you traded, that's it. You've traded the player. So a post June the 1st designation doesn't kind of make sense. I think that's for when you cut a player or release a player. But I don't know. I'm happy for somebody to correct me on that. Like I always say, I don't know everything about the NFL. I'm over the moon when somebody tells us something new. But no, I don't honestly believe we're going to trade for anyone. Oh, sorry, trade any of our players away and move up into the first or second round. I can't see it at all.
Paul?
So what he's telling you, Gareth, so Lee was on TED Talks Ball recently. Ted's working his way through the 49er Faithful UK. So I hope to see you on there soon, Gareth, because we need to get you some of the limelight. And Lee, I liked what you said to Ted. So there's been a lot online, Gareth, of content creators, people talking about the team. And Lee pointed out that we see ourselves more as fans. We're based in the UK. We love the team. We love the NFL, but we're not experts. We don't know everything. I'm going to be gutted if Lee speaks into existence Brandon Ayuk getting traded. One, because we were hiding him last year. Two, because I've just got his jersey. But I would be devastated as well to see Trey Lance go and be a success somewhere else. And I think it's a bit short-sighted. I just don't see what we would gain unless it's a blockbuster trade. And I'm talking, we get a top 10 pick in my eyes. And I know some people are going to come on and say, Paul, that's ridiculous. But if we give him away for a second or even a third round pick and then he goes somewhere else and he becomes half the player we hoped he would be, I always think we'll have that what if. So for me, I hope we keep hold of Trey Lance. But who knows in the NFL? You mentioned Sonny Weaver before we went live, Lee, and Draft Day. And everyone watch. If you've not seen that movie, go watch that movie. It's fantastic. But I suppose I'm starting to get a bit more excited now, Gareth. Jess has joined us, East Coast Red and Gold podcast, and she's put Happy Draft Day. And this morning I felt a little bit more giddy because we're another step closer to the season starting. Once draft days come in, then you've got training camp, OTAs. But as trades, I'm like you, Lee. Jason Hurley's the man I follow on Twitter. Any salary cap question you've got, go check that man out. What he doesn't know about the salary cap isn't worth knowing. So he's a good follow on Twitter. And I think you and Nadji had him on, didn't you, Lee?
We did.
Jason?
We did. I think he was just getting over COVID. He didn't sound very good at the time. He didn't sound very well, I should say. But he's a great guy to speak to. He knows the cap inside out. And yeah, he's a great guy. He's got a lot of knowledge there. So I'm conscious that we're already 17 minutes in here and we haven't even started the draft. So what I'll say to you two is either one of you want to trade up. Is there somebody you see around about the 70 to 90 mark that you would like to trade up for? Or do you think that the picks we've got, you're happy with the players available around about then?
I think third has been a pretty good sweet spot for us. I think we know there's value between third and fifth round. There's only so many players that can get picked in a round. And sometimes you might have 150 players coming out of college who are worth a top 100 pick. So 50 of them aren't going to be in there. So I do think sometimes the arbitrary division into different rounds seems to stick and hang around with players. But I think the college players don't get together and organise themselves into nice groups of 32 based on their talent. It just doesn't work like that. So I'm happy to be patient and sit and wait. And I think that's really because as with Paul, I don't really catch a lot of the college game. There isn't a name there. And to be honest, I don't think there's really a position of need where we absolutely have to get a day one guaranteed starter, if you like, in terms of that having a roster hole, unless you're going to disagree, GM Lee.
So are you looking at this draft as though we need to get somebody who can start today or start this year or next season? Because the way I look at the draft now, because of the way Lynch has built the roster, we are looking at next year's gaps. We are already looking there. So for me, the gaps I see is safety, tight end, linebacker, and defensive line.
Really?
Those are the four areas that I think that we'll do. Defensive line, not necessarily because there's going to be a gap there, because we're going to lose people, but we do tend to like to refresh the defensive line, and that's why I'd go for that. But I mean, for me, the three biggies is safety, tight end, and linebacker. Just when you see who's going to be a free agent next year.
Wow.
So that's what I would be targeting. Obviously, a lot of people's going to turn around and say offensive tackle, but look at the amount of offensive linemen we've taken in the last few years. And as I've just said, Lynch tends to draft a year in advance of when he needs to play. So at least they've got a year's experience on the roster, potentially on the practice squad, wherever they go. If they're on the practice squad, I'd be surprised if they're actually going to start on the offensive line next year. Next season. But then you look at the likes of Jalen Moore. We've taken Jalen Moore, Colton McKivitz like 2-3 years ago. I think Jalen Moore was in a second year because he was taken the same time as Aaron Banks. Aaron Banks became a starter and was unbelievable this year. We've got Nick Zirkel. I'm going to butcher these names tonight. It's going to be fun. So we've taken four or five offensive linemen in the last couple of years. We've also brought one in free agency. I'm not too sure it's going to be that much of a need. Plus, with the picks that we've got in this year's draft, I don't think you're going to get starting right tackle in the third round. I don't think that's going to happen. So that's why I'm not looking at offensive tackle being particularly a need this year, because we don't have a high enough pick to get somebody who's going to be a day one starter. There's been a lot made about Blake Freeland. I think it's Blake Freeland. To me, when the stuff I've seen him online, when I've YouTubed him, Paul's old film, when I've watched that, he looks okay. I don't think he's as good as Mike McGlinchey, but we all know what Mike McGlinchey's shortcomings was. It was in the pass protection. As a run blocker, he was absolutely fantastic. He was probably his top 3 run blocking tackles in the league. The top one obviously being Trent Williams. But sadly, he was really poor in the pass blocking. Although he did improve this season, he's still poor. So yeah, to me, safety, tight end, linebacker.
What about
Right,
you, Paul?
What I'll do just before Paul answers, I'm going to start off this draft because I've got it on the slow setting, not the slowest, the next one up. The only difference I've changed from the settings on PFF is I've put the randomness up by one, because you do tend to find when you actually watch the draft, I think you get quite a number of random picks that leave people scratching their heads, or things happen that leave you a little bit bewildered. I mean, the best example was last year. There was no noise at all made about problems with Nakobe Dean, and both me and Najee was sat in the arena there watching the draft go through. Got the second round, Nakobe Dean hadn't gone. We were sat in front of the stage thinking, as it got towards pick 61, I can't believe nobody's taking Nakobe Dean. Nakobe Dean's going to fall to us, and then we take Drake Jackson, and Nakobe Dean keeps on falling, and then is eventually taken at 88 by the Eagles. And it wasn't until after he was taken that all the stories came out about Nakobe Dean and all the concerns. So it's things like that you don't see, or it's not reflected in the big boards, because they're doing it off play, not what they've been told afterwards, not the interviews, not the personality tests, stuff like that. So I've put in a little bit more randomness. And again, just one more thing about the whole PFF thing. It's okay, PFF mock draft simulator, but it's not great as far as the ratings of the players. The way they've got their big board set up, I don't think it's outside of the first round. I don't think it's particularly accurate. I think there's better ones out there. ESPN for one. I think that's a more realistic big board to what PFF is. PFF is purely based off what the college ratings are. Some of these guys have only played for one season, had a really good season, so they're rated quite highly, and it's in there as though they should be in the top 100, where you've got another player who's played for 4 seasons, aren't too far away from them, but because of the difference in rating, they are quite a bit far down on the big board. But you'd rather take the guy who's had all the snaps and the experience. So we know what PFF's like. We will draft around about the areas where the picks are, unless there's certain players that I want. And then I'll twist your arm into us taking them. So I'm going to kick this off, and if it's too slow, I can easily just speed it up.
Draft needs for you, Paul. Where do you think we're going to need?
Well, with my offensive coordinator hat on that you've allocated me, I've already nailed the first 2 rounds. We've traded for Trey Lance. We've drafted CMC. My job is done. I can just sit back and let you lads. But all jokes aside, I know Lee is going to be banging the drum for his wide receiver, Wilson from Stanford. Tight end seems to be something the team have identified. We've invested heavily in the recruiting process. We've gone and interviewed pretty much all of them. A couple of names that could be a reach. Tucker Kraft, South Dakota State, looked like a Kyle Shanahan kind of player, you know, that big-bodied. He was kind of, you know, broke 25 tackles and he's looking good. But I think he won't fault us, so it'll be interesting when we have the conversation. Do we jump up for him? A lot of people like Sam Laporta because he's got that connection with Kittle at Iowa. I was putting the comments on Lee, but I feel bad because it was covering Gareth's face. But Martin, yes, Martin, we know there's a tight end going. He's got a boss name. Zacharuni is what he's going to be called on this show tonight because I am not getting an infraction from YouTube for getting that name wrong. But I personally think that we'll be looking at either a safety, as Lee said, at pick 99, or an edge, or maybe as an offensive tackle. I'd be very shocked if we took an offensive player. But that said, for the purposes of this, I am going to try and stick to my offensive coordinator hat. And as Jess has put there, this reference will be lost on you, Gareth. Vontae Mack, no matter what.
Right, hang on. Sorry, I've just got to do this then. That was well timed, that was, Jess. There you go. How about that? That was unbelievable timing for that to pop up there.
Anyone would think this was our first stab at this, Lee, and we hadn't practiced. But
yeah.
But no, I think looking at the team, we've got 10 wide receivers signed at the moment, but I think Shanahan will take a punt on a wide receiver. Selfishly, I would love to see Mike Wilson just because I think it'd make Lee happy. And why wouldn't you want to make El Presidente happy, Gareth?
So I might have missed that, but I think he's already gone. Yes, he has already gone.
Which one's he gone at then?
93, he's gone to the Panthers.
Oh.
Okay, so where are we going? What are we doing? There's nobody willing to trade with us. What do we think?
So we're at pick
position-wise.
Yeah, and what are you going to make your case, Paul?
No, you go first. I've just rambled on as the offensive coordinator. Come on, DC. First day in the job.
Well, the key things, we had quite a few of the defensive line disappear in free agency. I know we made a big free agency signing, but I think we've set out our stall. We invest heavily in the defensive line. Defensive line is good value if you can pick up players in the draft because they end up being cheap. If you think of Nick Bosa, we've had him at half his value for 3 years, basically. So my pick at that level would be try and find me an edge rusher. I think there's one at the top of the list who seems to have slipped down a little bit. Ranked 64, and he's available at 99.
So, like I said, I mean, I put randomness on there, and I've already seen just by what players are available, that's made a huge difference to the way the available players look. So you want an edge rusher, yeah? See, now, I have an edge rusher in mind who, had I not changed that randomness, would probably be available about 154. 155, I think it is 155 we pick. But I now have my doubts whether or not it'll be available then. And that's a young kid from San Jose State Spartans, Fioko. Now, I'd have potentially went for him down there. Now, further down the board, that's what I mentioned at the beginning, to me, linebacker is going to be a big need next year. And I think the draft is reasonably strong in edge rushers this season. Linebacker, I have been taking Dorian Williams. Dorian Williams, I think, will fit in with what we do really, really well. I know he plays weak line side linebacker at the moment, which is obviously Dre Greenlaw's position. But he should be able to come in there and take the Sam position and do that, which is what Aziz used to do. But obviously, if you want an edge rusher, Nick Herbig, we can go with it.
Description sounded quite good because I think we're going to go for these people who are born athletes, that good athletic stuff. If they're not that polished, we know that basically Korachek can polish a turd pretty much.
Yeah.
So we want to go to the people who've got that athleticism and the right attitude, the 49 way, I think, as John Lynch calls it, someone who's going to come in and be coached. And we don't need the polished product, but we need that athleticism. We need that focus and dedication. Don't really know much about him, but it sounded like that was something on his little profile. That he was athletic.
Don't press draft yet, Lee. Have a little look at the tight ends available. Just because the DC went first, let's have a little look. See if my man's on there. So,
were you looking for Laporta?
Laporta or Tucker Craft, I was thinking, if they're on there. So, looking at that at the moment, the only one we know is Zacharuni, who's jumping off the page, but we're not taking him at 99.
Bit of a reach. Wouldn't recommend that again.
Yeah.
It cost you your job.
I mean, Martin Hughes is telling you to draft him. I can already. He doesn't need to put the comment on. I know Martin's going to say, Lee, there he is. There's our man. But...
So, I mean, while we're talking about him, obviously, you do watch a lot of YouTube. When we go through the draft, we find these names who stick out to us, and we go on, we do a search, give us the highlights. How much video on YouTube have you watched of cunts? do you watch much video of cunts?
I don't watch much college football, Lee. That's how I can answer that question.
So you don't know what he's like. So interestingly,
I think Martin watches a lot of that category you've just said there. Maybe I'm getting wrong. Yeah. Martin might help. Yeah. No.
So if you're there, Martin, just let us know whether or not you like cunts.
Neil Graham's asking who's available at safety before you press the button. So again,
this is another interesting one. So J.R. Brown, I know Neil likes J.R. Brown. I like J.R. Brown as well. I think he's going to be a very useful player. And when you look at what we've got, so the top two there, I think we've been linked with the second one. I think we've had a visit to Marty Mapu, as well as J.R. Brown. Yeah, I think out of the two of them, J.R. Brown is the one I would go for.
I think
he's still going to be there at 101, 102.
Yeah.
So Neil is saying yes to the safety. David, who's joining us, says no to Martin's draft crush. Says he's a soft player, so maybe he knows a bit more than us. But Martin is telling you to press that button, and he's enjoying the connection with the name.
So it's interesting what they say about cunts, because when you have a look at this, I wonder if that's been updated. That looks nothing like what I was looking at before, unless I've been looking at a completely different player. I think I've been looking at a completely different tight end. I was looking at, I bet it was Davis Allen. Yeah, it is Davis Allen. Davis Allen came across quite well. He was the one that, when I've looked, he is more a typical like George Kittle type player. He enjoys run blocking. He's quite physical. And to be honest, I think when I've been doing this, so down in the 150s, I was going to say he has been available when I've been picking at 155, 164. So let's go back to the edge rusher, because that's who Gareth wanted. I think looking around that, I think that's probably the correct pick to make. So let's go for the edge rusher. Right. Who's just gone in between us? They've taken the guard. So Paul, it's over to you. Or can you make a better case for an offensive player than a defensive player?
So is that a wide receiver top of the list there?
It is, yeah.
Where are we at? What pick are we at now? Pick 101?
Yeah. If you're going to go for wide receiver, I'd like to hear your rationale for that.
Let's have a look at the wide receiver list then, Lee, and see. Well, Kyle Shanahan loves a wide receiver, and I've got to keep my head coach happy. So
he does. So he has taken a wide receiver in every draft that we've had so far. Whereas somebody's mentioned on there, I can't remember where, that Kyle loves a running back. We've only ever taken running back twice.
So Parker Washington, Penn State, is a name that I've seen bandied about, but it might be a bit of a reach at this point. So I may be the worst offensive coordinator in the history of the NFL, because I'm not banging a drum at the moment. Like I said, for me, tight end more of a need than wide receiver, unless you come to fruition. And whilst we're doing this, you trade away Brandon Ayuk, or maybe Shanahan falls in love with someone. But at the moment, there's no one jumping off the list other than Parker Washington. So what do you think, Gareth? Do you think we reach for my boy Parker, or is there somebody for the defense that you really want? Or should we go offensive tackle?
It is a bit of a reach, because I think we could go somewhere, and I think we could possibly take if we think it's a reach, we could drop back from 102 a little bit.
If somebody comes in with a trade offer, we can. I mean, we're at 101. Nobody's wanting to trade at the moment. Obviously, it's up to you two. You two, the OC, the DC. But I'd
Freeland available, or has he gone?
No, I think he's still in there.
So that would be a
yeah
tackle. So I would probably take him at this stage over a wide receiver, to be honest.
I've got to pick the GM up on a little bit there. Shanahan's taken more than 2 running backs. He took the guy in his first year who never saw the field. He took Elijah Mitchell. He's taken Trey Sermon. He's taken Tyrion Davis-Price. So that's 4 running backs I can think of.
Right.
So
over the 6-7 years, so the first year, was that Joe Williams?
Something like that. He
took Joe Williams, right? After that, I don't think he took another running back until 2 seasons ago when he took Trey Sermon. And when he took Trey Sermon, he obviously took Elijah Mitchell, so that's 2 in one draft. And then last year he took Tyrion Davis-Price.
Yeah, so it's 4.
But he tends to take the undrafted free agents. Yeah, yes, he does like a running back, but he tends to bring them in as undrafted free agents.
I don't think running backs are need. I've got high hopes for Jordan Mason, McCaffrey, Mitchell.
Yeah.
I think we can pick up a couple of projects.
So let's go Blake Freeland.
I would say that's my man. That's who I want. Thank you very much, Mr. GM.
No problem. Right, so nobody's wanting to trade again. Right, so before we do the next one, so the card guys, stick your hand up if you're a card guy in there. Tell me what I'm supposed to be expecting, because like I said, I spent the money on these, and it's always bewildered me why people collected these. Full disclosure, I did actually bid on one last night on eBay, and I won that. But that was a very special one to me. That was a signed one by Sammy Womack. So I'm eagerly awaiting that, which is not going to arrive for another few weeks. But I was quite happy with that. Obviously, that card was probably worth more to me than what would be to anybody else, purely because obviously I announced his draft pick. There's a shiny. There's a shiny.
I think you've answered your own question, Lee. When you were doing your scavenging, looking for the cards, I was saying to Gareth, for me, the way I collect the cards is like you've just said there, for your personal collection, ones that mean something to you. Like you said, you've got the Warmack one. I overbid on a couple of Kaepernick cards when I first got into it because he's the reason I fell in love with the sport. And I was saying I've got a signed Eric Reid card, which people are like, why have you got Eric Reid? But I got a 35 jersey for my 35th birthday, and I thought it was a good fit at the 49ers. So it can be a slippery slope. So let's have a look at this shiny you've got, because you looked very happy that you've opened that. Nick Ludlam.
So, I mean, I don't know what this means. The fact that this is gold and none of the others are, but it's a James Robinson, Jags running back. Like I said, I have no idea what these cards are. I just thought in your box there are gold versions that are exclusive to blaster boxes, and you should get at least one card that is numbered. Right, so is there a number? Yes, this is number 21. Or is that his number? No, that's the number of the card. I have no idea what that is, honestly. You can probably see from your face. No idea what I'm doing here.
Well, before you sell any, check with Nick. Don't be selling any pennies on the pound. Check with the experts.
That's what I don't get. That is really what I don't get. So these cards, I mean, I can understand people buy... Ooh. Okay. Right, so suddenly I've gone back to my childhood here, and I've just picked up a card. It's not signed. I don't know what the value is, but it's Jerry Rice. So obviously that's getting us excited a little bit. Right, what's the number? What's the number of Jerry Rice?
No, I think he means the gold card. It should say 21.
The gold card. Oh no, it doesn't say 21 of. Is that what he's saying?
No. Well, I'm guessing.
No, it just says
the blind here.
Yeah, it just says number 21. I don't know what else that is. It's got no other number on there. And Jerry Rice says, "Oops, Daisy, just dropped them all. Give us a second."
So, Gareth, where do you think we're going to be going next? Then, do you think we'll be going offensive play the next pick, or do you think we'll be going defensive play?
I'm going to make a case for safety. I think we know Sean Gibson is perhaps giving us another year, and he's going to need a replacement. And we need.
I'll stop you. I'll stop you there, and I'll tell you who I'm going to take next. Gia Brown. Gia Brown's available. He's getting taken next. What else have we got? For some reason, I'm getting 2 Matthew Stafford cards, both with the Rams paraphernalia on it. Yeah, I mean, Seahawks, burn that one. Giants one. Somebody just mentioned that their house is divided. I think it was Mike Davis. His son's a Giants fan. What is this? What is that? That's a draft card. Jalen Talbot. So yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious to everyone that's watching. I have no idea what these are. Lee, if you put the link for streamers in Facebook.
I'm going to try and do it now. I'm not quite sure what that meant.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that means either. So yeah, I mean, I'll probably take this offline and speak to somebody who knows about these cards, and they can explain to us what they are. I'm showing me age, aren't I? Right, so next pick, and then we'll move on. And I'm taking the guy that I know is going to go very quickly.
What position is that?
So safety.
All right.
Safety.
Just someone's asking what's left at cornerback.
Yeah. So cornerback, Kobe Trice. Kobe Trice, I really love that player. I think he'll be a really good pickup. Is cornerback a bigger need over safety? I don't think so. Diomedala, no. Ambry Thomas, Mooney Ward, Sammy Womack, Isaiah Oliver. I think we've got 5 good players there. I think we will pick up a cornerback or 2 in this draft. I mean, we've got 11 picks. But I don't think it's a bigger need than what safety is. With safety next year, we're losing to Sean Gibson. We're going to be left with Huff and who else? So I'm thinking Gia Brown. And this is where I'm going to overrule any argument against taking Gia Brown.
No, I'm happy with that, boss. I need my shiny toys.
Yeah. So that can go off there like that. While we're waiting for that. Yaya Diaby. Yes, I'd love that pick.
So would I, just for his name.
Yeah.
Can you imagine, Gareth, the 49er Faithful UK meetup, the Yaya 2 race song, but we've changed it to Yaya Diaby. It's going to be great. The fireballs all round. I can see it taking on now. So someone's disagreeing, Lee. So safety is like running back, late round picks only.
Ooh, you reckon?
Someone else is Brown is a big hitter. He's a lot like Hufanga. Jamie Robinson can cover anybody. He's very long.
You've lost Zacharuni. He's gone.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to take Zacharuni anywhere, to be fair.
No, we had better needs.
Right, who are we going for? So let's go back onto this. So we've taken a safety, we've taken a defensive end, and we've taken a tackle.
So which pick are we at now, GM?
So we're at 155.
Is Davis Allen available, the tight end that you were looking at earlier? Because I know the people.
He is, yes.
See, for me, I think this represents good value at pick 155. You did a little bit of research earlier, which you shared with everyone.
Yeah, I did. I like him. I like the look of him. I think he'll fit in with what we do really well. And like I said, I mean, next year, Dwelly's out of contract again. I think Warner's out of contract as well. Croft. But Croft. Have we re-signed Croft? I don't think we did re-sign Croft. So he was out this year. So I think tight end, we definitely need somebody to bring somebody
I would
in
like
this
to
year.
take tight end, but playing devil's advocate there, someone's putting in Corby Turner is still there. That's a major steal.
I
7-9.
mean, we're picking again in 9 picks, so we can probably pick up Davis Allen there.
I want Davis Allen.
Fair.
Someone's asking if there's a trade. Is there a trade available?
He is a trade available. Oh, you're not getting much there, like.
No, not unless we're going to go for next year.
So,
but let's see how desperate they are.
Well, it doesn't look as though they're that desperate.
I'm banging the drum
Round
for
6.
my tight end from Clemson. So that's who I'm at this stage. 155. I think it represents a good pick.
See, that's interesting. That so get rid of 244, and all I want is a round 5 next year, and they're not going to give us it. But if I include 244, they're going to give us the round 5 next year. This is where PFF draft is really annoying because it makes no sense for them to do that. Makes no sense at all. But what obviously is, I'm going to pick 11 players, and I think Neil is right. I mean,
That looks good value.
if we want to go for the best value,
And we stockpile that. We lost a load of defensive interior,
we did,
and that he can possibly be stashed on the practice squad for a year.
So I'm
Yeah.
going to go with Kobe Turner.
Oh, okay.
Well, like I said, we're only 9 picks away. We're only 9 picks away. Who have we got?
No.
Right,
You're
we've got
G-
the lines.
You're the
hang on,
GM, buddy.
we've got the Lions who potentially might pick up a tight end, and the Bengals. So let's quickly go back. What have they taken so far? So cornerback,
Luke's put
tight
a
end.
very
There you go. Detroit's taking tight end. They're not going to take a second tight end.
Luke has put a very good snippet there, Lee, about a song in the early '60s that went something like, and I'll let you read it out in your. He's banging that drum for yeah. That's all I'm going to say. Smitty's joined us. A Lamar Jackson trade pending. Maybe that could be some breaking news there. And there's a couple of other names.
Yeah.
If you are going to take Kobe Turner, and if Allen goes off the board, Will Mallory and Cameron Latou for tight end. So I will go with
Cameron
your
Latou.
opinion.
Cameron
I will go
Latou,
with you
I
two
like
on
him.
this. So
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to take Kobe Turner there.
Yeah, and we
Because of the value,
we
yeah.
could always try and trade up a few spots. We might just be able to flip one of those sevenths.
See, there's my guy that I wanted at edge, Fiocco.
So when did we do the sensible thing? But I agree with you.
Kobe Turner. Kobe Turner's the guy. Right. 164. And Davis Allen is still there. All right, let's open another pack of these cards. I'll
So-
quickly flick through them, see if there's anything that is of interest.
So David's loving the Turner pick, chaps. Apparently, Lee, we'll have to look into this, Mike, because we're a bit new to this. So apparently, there's a link on the group for StreamYard that Facebook users can authorise their name to be used. Now, to be honest, Mike, when me and Lee went live on Tuesday, we could see everybody's name, so we thought we had it cracked. So we don't know what we've done tonight. So
obviously you set that up, whereas I set this one up. So I wonder if it's something in the setup of the actual stream where you need to do it.
But you did surprise me earlier. I was out and about, Gareth, and it popped up on my phone. Paul Hope plans to go live, and I was like, do I? So Lee got a bit of revenge back on me.
Ooh.
Oh,
Joe Montana.
He had an alright career, didn't he? From what we remember.
I believe so. I heard he did. Yeah, I heard he was quite good.
Won a couple of games here and there.
So yeah, I'm definitely going to have to spend some time with Nick so he can tell us what these are and what I'm looking at. See, I've got a yellow card now. Kyle Rudolph, yellow card.
So Andrea, when you watch this back, it wasn't Paul Hope that got him into the card collecting game. It was Nick Ludlam. And if you need contact details for Nick, after his rather evil would you rathers, I'm more than happy to pass that information on Andrea. So do not worry.
It's funny, we had the conversation about this tonight, about expensive hobbies. And I jokingly said, if I like this might become another expensive hobby.
No comment, Lee. No comment.
No comment.
Tracy
No comment.
might be watching.
Right, where are we at? We're at 164. We haven't taken a tight end. Cameron Latou is there. Latou, yeah, is there. Will Mallory.
I think we've gone for three. I've got three new toys, and Paul's only got one.
Good run block grade on him there.
That's all right, Gareth. I'm a team player. I do feel
Cameron?
we're going to utilise a second tight end this year. I mean, I was banging the drum for Davis Allen, Lee, but do you think one of the two names that's been mentioned, Latou,
I
Mallory, would be better?
like Davis Allen. To be honest, I like Davis Allen. I think he looks good.
I would be happy with that. So
I'm
if I
happy
could
with
have
that.
a new tight to play, that would be epic.
There you go. You've got a tight end there. So we're on to 173. We've got a tight end. We've got a safety. We've got a defensive lineman. We've got an edge. We've got a tackle. Where we going now? Fioco's still there at 173.
So what position's that? He's an edge.
Mind you,
So-
we've also got a guard in there.
Is that this guy? So apparently they'll know we'll draft the edge from San Jose. Do you think that's who Josh 82 Faithful Forever means?
Yeah, that's him. That's
I mean,
him.
look-
I mean,
Basically, you cannot have too many good edge rushers.
so I would say I was lucky enough to see him play against Hawaii, but I think me, Nick, and the two Davids will all agree. I don't think any of us concentrated on him. There was another player on the field that had me absolutely blown away, and he was only a freshman. He didn't play for San Jose, he played for Hawaii, and I'm looking forward to seeing how his career progresses. And I'm looking forward to seeing him in the NFL. It was his first year playing for Hawaii, and to be honest, he looked like he looked like an NFL veteran. The way he read the game was unbelievable. His movement off the ball, he was a side-to-side safety. He just absolutely blew me away. And there was a young kid called Peter Manuma, number 33 for Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. If you want to check him out, I think all four of us were sat there because I did mention him quite early on in the game, and we did make a point of watching him play and just watching him read the game and his movement. He looked as though he just stood out from the rest of the team. Hawaii didn't particularly have a very good offense that day, but their defense made it really hard for San Jose to win the game. In the end, it did win the game, even though Hawaii's offense woke up in the fourth quarter. You could call it garbage time, but they did wake up at the start of the fourth quarter rather than the end. But to watch Peter Manuma play, I'm really excited for that kid. Can't wait to see him play. But yeah, I mean, if it was up to me, and I'm GM,
Well, it is.
I'm looking at Fioco.
Hang on.
I mean, I know we've already taken an edge, but we have lost 2 or 3 edges. We've re-signed Kerry Hyder. We've obviously got Drake Jackson there. I would be more than happy for Fioco to come in.
But don't we need a quarterback? Don't we need DTR? See there in this for 49ers fans, and don't we need another quarterback?
So I'm not going to lie. I have been taking them in every mock draft I've done, but I haven't taken them at this early. It's always been at 216. Whether or not it'll be available at 216 this time is debatable. It's telling that both Lynch and Shanahan have had several conversations with him. And I think the thing that stands out is he's got more college games than what Brock Purdy had, and Brock Purdy had a lot of college games. I think DTR played in 48 games in his college career, which is a load of experience. And I think what we now know from watching Brock Purdy play, yes, having that ultimate skill set, the potential there to hit a very high ceiling is great. But if you don't have the experience, then it's going to take you a long time to get there. And you need to take that development slowly, which is why I don't think we're going to get rid of Lance. I think eventually he will get his chance. But Dorian Thompson-Robinson, I think if anything was to happen with Lance, that's who would pick up.
Well, before you press that button, GM, listen to your fan base. So you've got people agreeing with you. So people saying you can never have too many good linemen.
Did you say listen to my fan base? I don't have any fans.
No,
I don't know what you've been drinking.
No, we're doing this as a mock draft, and we are the 49ers. So what I'm saying, Mr. GM, but Neil Graham is just reminding you that we have got Austin Bryant and Pharrell there. So we're used to getting giddy about edge.
Yeah, I know.
We do have them in there.
And I've got to say, I am really excited about Clennon Farrell. I was really excited about when we took Nick Bosa. I thought, well, if we did, because I didn't think we were going to get Bosa. We all thought the Cardinals were going to take Bosa, and we were all gobsmacked when they took the little poison dwarf. So yeah, I mean, I thought we were going to end up with taking Clennon Farrell that year. So it's going to be good to see him come in and play for us. But you are right.
Cornerback is a need. Wide receiver. I mean, I can see you itching to take you, man. And you are GM, so if you want to take your boy,
it's best player available. I mean, I know we've taken a safety, but he seems to have dropped a bit. Guy at the top of the list there. I can see. I did notice the next 3 teams who draft all have QB as a need. So it depends if you think that DTR is going to be gone. I think there is going to be a Purdy effect in this draft. I can see more quarterbacks going than usual. and they usually get abandoned. And people kind of think, well, actually, with these 5th, 6th, 7th round picks, the value you get from hitting on a Purdy is just so big. And I think some of these guys do drop down the draft board for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And that experience, people are saying, well, look, if we get 3 years of backup quarterback out of a 6th or 7th round pick, that's good value. So I don't know if he's going to be there again when we pick.
See, I don't think we need a quarterback. I don't think that's going to be an issue. I don't think we trade in Lance. I think we keep in Lance, Purdy, and Darnold.
I don't think we need a QB at this stage. I was just playing as the offensive coordinator. I mean, Luke jumped in there and said if we draft him now, Gareth, and he has a good pre-season, a team will swipe him during the practice squad.
Exactly.
I think a couple of years ago we drafted, or was it an undrafted linebacker we picked up, and he did so well in training camp. We flipped him for like a 6th round pick, and he never played.
Griffiths.
Do that with the D-line.
We sent him over to the Seahawks.
Kovacic is going to polish these guys up, and if we end up with one surplus to requirements, somebody else will take him for a pick again.
Well, Kim has come in there and said we need more edges. To be fair, Gareth, we built on that D-line. Like you said, it's our strength. So, to be fair, Lee, I'm happy with you to go with your boy.
Yeah, I am going to go with him. And the reason why is I think the interior defensive line is quite strong now that we've brought in Hargrave. I mean, hopefully, Kinlaw is going to remain fit, going to remain healthy. We've got Armstead in there as well. And I think with Bosa, Farrell, Drake Jackson, and Fiacco and Austin, I think we're going to have a rotation at defensive end as well. And I think I think we're going to need that as well. I honestly do. So I think that's a good position to take him in. I actually think he's going to go before that in the actual draft as well.
Well, there we go.
There we go.
Made.
So how many have we got left? We've got 5 left. So we've taken 6.
We've only taken one offensive player, a tackle.
No, we took a tight end as well, didn't we?
Oh, we have. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, we have. Yeah.
It's all right. So, for everyone in the comments, don't feel annoyed that I'm not showing your comments because, unfortunately, as you'll see here, when I put a comment like this up from Luke, which is a great comment, he agrees with you, Lee. Ferrell excels at spotting him as the ball on the RPO and play action. Good initial step. But I cover Gareth's wonderful bucket hat. And obviously, as the host, I can't keep covering Gareth's face. So the comments are on there, but keep.
Now you've said that, you're going to get a lot of requests to do that.
Yeah.
So where are we at now, chaps? Where are we going with this one? Because Mr. GM's had a lot of sway in this one, Gareth. I feel like we've been marginalised a little bit as the coordinators.
As you should.
I think a wide receiver project would be good. I'd also like to get a corner before the end of the draft, and we're into 6 now.
Yeah, I think we should look at corner and receiver. DSC.
Right. So the corner I would take is actually gone, which I thought he might. Where did he go?
Mr. Graham, hold your horses. Our GM is not a fan of this position. That's all I'm going to say. David's put on there while we're looking that he's got a feeling that we trade Kinlaw this weekend. He hopes we're wrong. And someone on Facebook has put it's time for Jackson to step up. But,
well, I think Lynch was bigging up.
There he is. 197.
So
Starlin Thomas. Starlin Thomas is the cornerback I would have taken. Oh, Elijah Higgins. There's our other tight end gone. If you believe the reports.
Yeah, is that the one Breezy shared earlier? Is that the Stanford one?
Yes.
Yeah,
that's the one.
Give that one friend Breezy a shout out.
I don't know if this is like a rare card or what, but Hall of Fame card.
No idea, Lee. To be fair, there is plenty of groups.
I'm relying on Nick in the comments telling us, oh yeah, that's a rare card, mate. Keep all of that.
He'll say, send him down, mate. I'll have a look for you.
Yeah, will you trust Nick if he's saying, oh, that card's worthless, mate? Ping it over. I'll take it off your hands.
Right, so I've got a question about the players that are on the screen at the moment. Dante Stills, did he pull out of the draft last year? Did he? What's the word I'm looking for?
Withdraw?
Well, yeah, I think he did withdraw. No, what's the word when you See
Defer?
going in the draft.
Declare.
Declare for the draft. I'm sure he declared for the draft and then removed, because there was definitely a Dante Stills on PFF Mock Draft Simulator last year. The only reason I know that is because every year I look for somebody from West Virginia, just so at some point during the season on the podcast I can play Country Roads. So I'm convinced he was there last year.
So I had seen this earlier, Kim, that we do have 10 wide receivers on the roster now, but only Debo, Gray and Ayuk are signed beyond 2023. Yeah. So I do think we possibly will pick up a wide receiver project, as you said, Gareth. Depends who Shanahan likes. I'm just chuckling because I've seen Stetson Bennett's name kicking about, and we've just said we're not taking a quarterback. And then I'm like, oh, that's if DTR's gone. He was another one on my list, but
I don't know if we'll pick it up. But obviously Ray McLeod was excellent, but we do need someone to handle kick returns, and I think McLeod's only signed through this year, isn't he?
He is.
And
yeah.
So again, there may be. Don't know whether we'll pick it up, but maybe if there's a player that we can put on special teams, because we're going to need some cover. I think at that. If Ray McLeod got injured, God knows who would be receiving the kicks, because I think he took every single kick and punt last year, bar a couple.
Is Wicks available from Virginia, Lee? Or has he gone?
Position?
Wide receiver. Just have a look and see. He might be in the top. Yeah, I think he's gone. I think he'd have been in that. I've seen him go 173 in previous mock drafts that I've seen. So he's one I've seen being picked up. I don't know much about him other than people seem to be picking him up around about then. Wide receiver. Any names on there, GM, that you think we should take at this one?
Any names on here? So the only wide receiver I've bothered with, to be honest, throughout the whole mock draft I've been doing is Michael Wilson, and that's it. And I honestly believe we might go for Mike Wilson if he's available.
We can cross Bennett off the list. Thanks, Mr. Ludlam, keeping us right. He says a big no after the DUI charges.
Right.
So we'll go from there.
What about
cornerback?
I know we said we didn't need it, but running back? Again, I'm thinking maybe kick duties. Has someone dropped? Is there a little project there? Elijah Mitchell was 6th round pick, wasn't he? So
Evan Hull is one I've looked at on previous, but I don't know too much about him. He tends to go round 7, 2-2-2 on the mock drafts I've done. So I don't know whether it's about right to snap him up now, Lee, or see whether he falls. The one you're hovering there, Northwestern.
Right, who've we got? Who've we got? So we've got Christian McCaffrey, we've got Elijah Mitchell, we've got Jordan Mason, we've got Tyrion Davis-Price. Oh, I'm sure we've got a 5th running back.
Not sure, but Juice is obviously
often
listed in the running back room of 5. So
well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because luckily enough, Hunter's turned up there, and with the last pick, if he's still there, that's who I'd be targeting, because Juice is not getting any younger,
and he's the most difficult to replace. I don't think there's another player that we can get that can do Juice's job. We need to find a tight end, a fullback, or a big running back who can possibly fill in the Juice position, because if he goes, our offense has to change. It changes because he just does so many little tidying up jobs, and I just don't think there's anyone else who can do the job that he does, other than potentially.
I would agree with you there. I'll definitely agree with you there, which is why I'm looking at Hunter, taking him this year, and seeing how he develops under Juice as well, with Juice's help.
He should be there for certainly on next. What are we on 216? So he should be there maybe 222.
I think he's going to be there 255, mate. I'll be looking at the last pick to take him. I think he'll be there 255. Right.
So
let's quickly remind ourselves what we've taken. See,
you take defensive end, tackle, safety, defensive interior, tight end, and defensive end.
All right.
So corner is someone I'd still like to pick up, and we've perhaps missed the sweet spot for it.
I think we have missed the sweet spot for it, to be fair.
So, yeah, I was looking at Kelly from Stanford purely because I wanted to pick a Stanford player, but I think we've missed him. I think he's gone.
Is that to annoy Najee?
It was to keep you happy, mate. It was nothing to do with annoying Najee.
I'm happy with that, GM. Yeah. I've had my eye on Carrington Valentine, because if you can rock that name, you deserve to make it in the NFL. entirely based on the name, as I usually do.
So based off the fact I said some of this is going to be tongue-in-cheek, I'm happy to take Valentine.
Yeah,
I
please
am
do.
happy to take Valentine. Let's have a quick look, see what else is available.
Kicker.
Jake
I'm not
Moody.
taking a kicker.
Jake
Ooh,
Moody.
actually,
Jake Moody.
Actually, there's the thing. Jonah Tavere. I know he's an interior defensive lineman, but I quite like him as well. I think that would be a very good pick there. And like I said, we did have a big turnover at defensive line.
We've taken 2 defensive ends and a defensive interior and signed quite a lot in free agency to replace. I do think we'd be overstacking at that.
So linebacker, we haven't taken a linebacker yet.
We haven't, and we do need one. And we haven't taken interior offensive line. If, again, we're trading for a couple of years' time, a centre maybe or a guard.
Have a look at the kickers. You know you want to. Go on, have a look at the kickers. See if Jake Moody's there.
I am not taking a kicker.
You don't get to decide, Mr. GM. Who do you think you are? Matt Patricia going for all defensive players. Come on, you've got to mix it around a little bit.
So, yeah, Brett Nealon. I like him. I do like him. And I think this is one of the areas where we're not particularly strong. I know Jake Brendel had a decent season last season, but I think it makes a huge difference to have a really good centre. Alex Mack showed that straight away, and I think I said it on the live show on Tuesday. Might have even been on the show with Ted Talks Ball. I'm
going to say that's not the show I'm going on tomorrow at 5 p.m. So I hope you're on a different one.
He might talk about cunts.
Those grades have improved. Those grades look good. He's improved over 3 years.
Yeah, I'm trying to think why he's so far down on the big board.
So for full disclosure,
I don't know if he's had injury problems.
Nick, you should have DM'd me that before we started, and I'd have pushed the drum earlier for Kelly. If you've got autographed cards, we should have had that information at the start. And as Nick says, Lee, kickers are people. But Neil Graham
but you don't need to use a draft pick on them.
Neil Graham is happy with the Valentine pick. I think that's quite good.
Right, so we're going for Valentine, are we?
I think we've agreed.
He was the cornerback, wasn't he?
He was.
Tell you what, you're bullying me, you two. Okay then, Valentine it is.
I'm nailing this.
Well, we have to keep you happy, Gareth. The hostess for the mostest, especially when you've got your bucket hat on for us tonight.
Exactly.
So Mike is having to check out. He's off to drive the London bus all night. But cheers for checking in, Mike. We'll catch you later, buddy.
Right, so in interior offensive lineman, like I said, I like this guy here, Brett Nealon.
This is about the spot to draft him as well.
Yeah.
It's not a reach.
So I like him. I've had a look at the others, and some of these players, it's difficult to find any sort of video on them on YouTube, especially when you get this far down the draft. You probably just get a couple of players and that's it. For some reason, I'm getting some feedback from somebody. I don't know if anybody else can hear that.
I heard it a couple of minutes ago, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, have you got your headphones in, Gareth?
No.
It's coming from you then. Right, let's go for the centre.
So Neil Graham, I don't know whether he means yes, the Brett Nealon pick, or no, the Neil. What do you reckon? He's put no, so I don't know whether that means he doesn't want you to.
No. He was saying great name. Great name.
Right.
He's saying great name because Nealon.
And Nick Ludlam is reminding us that he doesn't trust Gonzalez to kick the game-winning field goal. And Neil Graham is banging the table for a kicker. So the fan base is up in arms at the moment.
So
Mr.
hang on. So
we just want Jake Moody.
I did look. That's who it is, Jake Moody.
That's who we want.
That's who I'd looked at.
That's who I want.
Yeah.
That's who the people want.
We round 7, pick 30. I mean, I'm happy to go with Jake Moody now. I mean, it's almost undrafted free agent. So let's give Paul what he wants. Let's go for Jake Moody.
Kickers are people. We're a UK show. We had to take a kicker.
Don't perpetuate that myth. We do not like bloody kickers just because we're from the UK. It's bad enough going to Leeds and having Leeds United ask us which of the 49ers would take a penalty kick.
Yeah, that was a little bit frustrating. But
Right, so we're on 253. 253. Who did I say? I said I was going to take the fullback at the last pick. Let's see if he is still available. I can guarantee you. Yeah, he is. So we've got one pick before I take Hunter. Who are we going for? What position do you think we should be filling at this particular spot?
We still haven't gone for the wide receiver.
So we need a wide receiver.
the people are happy that we gave them what they wanted.
Right. That's very disappointing because all these names look very easy to pronounce. I was gonna give you all a good laugh and pick the one with the most difficult name.
Jake Bobo sounds quite hilarious.
I was going to say, yeah, I was looking at that thing in Jake Bobo, having Bobo on the back of his jersey.
Mr. Bonds,
Yeah,
a little bit further down there. That's a good name for the UK.
Yeah,
Give the old stereotype there.
Bonds.
And it's J Bonds as well.
Right. Oh, 6'4", 6'4". Okay then. So had he been under 6 foot, I was not taking him. I was not taking him. I want a big 6 foot. See, that's why I like Michael Wilson as well. He's 6'2". He's a physical wide receiver. He gets a lot of yards after the catch. He's got really good hands. He's had a couple of injuries, but they're not the type of injuries that have been caused because of the way he's played. It's unlucky injuries, impact injuries. So I honestly believe Michael Wilson is going to be an excellent wide receiver in the NFL. And I don't believe he's going to be there pick 99 either. Like I said earlier on, I think he's going somewhere between 65 and 80. I think we don't have a cat in hell's chance of getting Mike Wilson.
So
6'5".
How tall
nice
is
target?
How tall is shorter? The one underneath. That's what the people have come for.
He's 6'4". He's 6'4".
I will default to you, Mr. GM. Anyone on there that you feel that we should take?
Right, I'm going to go with Jadakis Bonds, purely because he's called Bonds.
Yeah.
Like you said, I mean, drop rate. Look at that, 13.6% drop rate. No good against man coverage, but he is 6'4". Stick him in the end zone when we're in the red zone.
There's the clip that we're going to cut and put on TikTok for Nick. Drops a ball, not bothered. Rubbish in man coverage, but he's tall.
Right. Who did I just click on there? Was that shorter? No, I'm going for shorter.
Okay.
Screw Bonds, I like shorter.
You're the GM. You're the one in control.
He's the tallest, shorter person I've met. Right, how are we then?
I can't wait for Najee Karat to give us his grade, and he'll be watching back and he'll have his list of names that we've got nowhere near.
Yeah. Honestly, he'll be saying, "I wish I hadn't missed that." You made a right mess of that, did you three? Right, I'm still looking at cards here. I've still got 2 packs to unpack here. It's just
I thought you were taking
cards.
the fullback from Dakota State. That's who we're taking, isn't it?
I am, yeah. Sorry, I'm just looking at my cards, mate. Another Hall of Famer, although I didn't like that guy. Okay, let's take Hunter. The grading on this is going to be terrible.
You speak from experience. Me and Gareth haven't done one this year yet, so we're like, oh, our first mock draft.
Have you not? So was this locked down to subscribers only for the 7 round from the start of the year?
Yeah.
Right.
You could only get 3 for rounds 1 and 2, and this year.
All right.
And you talked about expensive hobbies. As soon as there was a cost involved, I was like, yeah, pick my battles, Lee. This isn't a battle I need to take at the moment. Especially with the London game possibly being announced.
B plus isn't a bad grade at all. And I'm absolutely gobsmacked that J.A. Brown has been graded as a D there. And it's purely because they've got him as 135 on their big board and we've taken him at 102. But if you have a look at some of the mock drafts from the analysts, they've all got him going round about the 80 to 95 mark. So, yeah, that's why PFF doesn't really do it for me in certain instances. But yeah, I mean, B plus.
B plus.
So, going to the real draft. Let me get rid of this. Going to the real draft. Do we actually think? Let's get my big face off there. Do we actually think we're going to trade? Do we think it's realistic that we trade any place?
I
And
think
if we do, who?
trading, as in a trade away a player. I think
Trade away player. Yeah.
I mean, there is, if it falls out this way, if there's not a defensive interior that Ryan likes, he might come back for Kinlaw. I mean, he knows his history, but there is at least some sort of link there. I see John Lynch was bigging up Kinlaw.
I would be absolutely. I'd be absolutely gobsmacked if anybody is willing to give up a draft pick for Kinlaw, given the fact he never plays. He never plays because he's always injured.
I mean, look at this time last year. So this time last year, my non-49er fans were absolutely having my life. Debo was getting traded, and the suitor was the Jets. And we all know Dan from Let's Talk Sports. Just give him a cheeky plug there. And he was messaging me, Lee, saying, there's no way the Jets are giving you what you want for Debo. And I'm in that same approach. Unless it's a blockbuster deal, I can't see us trading anybody. Unless, like you said, you come to day 3 and maybe someone swaps Kinlaw for someone else. But at this stage, the draft about to start, I'd be very shocked if we're involved in what I call a blockbuster trade. So this is where everyone bookmarks this. And then when I wake up in the morning, I've got egg on my face. But I don't know. I don't see us trading away one of our marquee players at the moment unless it's a blockbuster deal. And John Lynch pretty much said that at his press conference. You know, we'll evaluate. We're not making the phone calls. We're listening to the phone calls. But you have to come to the table with something we want. And do you think teams are going to do that?
There's no meeting in the middle there with either Trey. Well, certainly not Trey Lance. What people are going to offer us is not something that's worth taking. We can still develop him, and look at our last few years. We've used 3 or 4 quarterbacks every single year. We kind of need him, and we know that you know Purdy may not be ready for those first few games, and Darnold may not be up to speed with the playbook in the early stages. May need to get watch a few games under his belt, dissect them when there's some real tape to go through to really get a grasp on it. So I think we're keeping Lance. The only way I can see Lance going is if they lose their quarterback last week of August, and somebody's like, well, who can we get? What's available? That's the only way I could see Trey not being on the team this year.
Any interest in taking a run at Chase Young? Yes, definitely. But it all depends on how much it's going to cost us. If we can get away with just parting with something like a 5th or 6th round pick because he has had his injuries, then the likelihood of that is probably low. I don't think we'd get him for that. I think it would cost us a little bit more. The injuries do concern us. People have turned around and said he hasn't been in the same place since he's come back from injury. I think he's only been back 1 season. I think it's going to take a little bit longer for him to get back there, get the confidence to do the type of moves that he used to do. I think he can still be an excellent player in this league. If we can get him, I'd be over the moon to have Chase Young.
As long as we do it for a Trent Williams style deal, what was it, a 3rd and a 5th or something? I wouldn't want to give up what. But I think the Chase Young deal at the moment, if we ring Washington tonight, they're going to ask for something ridiculous. But maybe once you get past the first couple of days of the draft. But before we move on, chaps, I knew Martin would be happy. We upset him with not taking Zachary Rooney, but as a massive James Bond fan, so he's saying we have to give Mooney Ward's number up to our new signing. Not sure that would go down well, Martin. And CJ Ruthless, who's one of the content creators who's flying the flag, has joined us. He's just checking in, says, hey, guys.
Hey, Chris.
I definitely can't see us even wanting to trade back into the first round. I think the deal to trade up for Trey was partly calculated on the fact that, fair enough, you miss out on first round picks, but it means you don't have to budget for them. That's 20 million. It's 2 first round picks we haven't had to budget for. That's what's been able to sign Hargreave and Bosa. And I don't think we want to go back into the first round.
Completely agree there. I think when you look at the financial situation that we're in, we've got 11 picks that is only going to cost us 3 million if we stay where we are. And I think that is, I think both John and Kyle are comfortable with that, which is why I don't think we're going to be moving about too much either. I mean, if anything, we might trade back, get an extra pick, take 12 players. Because looking at the roster we've got at the moment, we are going to have to bring in a lot of players that aren't currently there yet that aren't currently signed. So yeah, I mean, I can potentially see them trading back and taking an extra pick because it's not going to cost us more; it's going to cost us less.
I can see us moving around between the third and the fifth round, maybe because we've got the three picks together. Maybe as we did, there's kind of you take two and there's not the value there. You see if you can and slip back, and then maybe move around, move up again from the fifth or something, and think there's a good chance we're only interested in one player at about that pick number. We need to get a pick in between the numbers we currently have, and we have amassed the draft capital to do it. And there's a couple of teams out there, particularly Miami, our old friend with Mike McDaniel, who's got 4 picks, and he needs more than that. And that's where maybe he can prize perhaps our 5th and a 7th or something, and we can actually move. He has to suck up a bad deal because he just needs the bodies.
Yeah.
I mean, we joked at the start about the movie Draft Day, Gareth, and we joked about, but when the dominoes fall, like you said last year, Lee, you and Nadji were sat there and there was people still on the board. And that's the beauty of the draft. And I saw a comment on our Facebook group earlier which said, I can't believe people go out and watch people just pick the names. And I've had this conversation with Tracy. She's like, what is the draft? What's happening? But like you said, it's the excitement. And then once that first trade goes down or that first player slides down the board, and then it gets interesting and exciting. So at this point, it's all kind of subjective. It's all guesswork. But I am looking forward to waking up and finding out who we've drafted, because I won't be staying up for the next couple of nights, to be honest with you, chaps.
I don't know if I'll stay up tonight, because obviously we haven't got any skin in the game. I don't expect us to have skin in the game. But definitely tomorrow night, I'll stay up for both the second and third round. Obviously, it's the weekend, which makes it a lot easier. I need to be up early anyway, because I'm going out to the Sunderland game and I'm getting the train for a change instead of driving. Purely because it's such a pain to get out of Sunderland. But yeah, I think I'll stay up. I'll watch it all. I definitely want to see our picks live. And I think I've also got an interest in seeing, obviously, the 4 guys that are out there, Luke, Claire, Lisa and Ryan, to see if they get on TV. And also probably just to kind of liaise with Nick, if Nick needs just to be that intermediate guy between the guys. Although I am going to add him to the group so you can contact him direct, and he does have the phone numbers. But yeah, I think round 3 is probably going to be the exciting round for us. Once we get to Saturday, obviously it starts much earlier. In fact, I'm probably going to miss the vast majority of it. As I recall, so that was the day I made the pick last year. It was day 3, started 8 o'clock in the morning, which is just after 12 midday in the UK. It's 1 o'clock in the UK. So I'm going to be out all afternoon at the Sunderland match. I think it'll finish, about 8:30, 9 o'clock. So I'll get in to see the back end of the 6th and 7th round.
So a few people enjoyed the show, put in the comments in there. A few people wanting Trey Lance to be a 49er for life, but if he's traded to the Raiders, that would make for fun. And David's put that he's rooting for Sunderland from now on. But all jokes aside,
cheers, David.
The Zoom call is great. The only reason I'm not joining it this year is because it's Kaylee's 16th birthday on Saturday, and I've kind of promised Trace that. But if you are staying up and you're in the group, or if you want to be part of it, drop us a DM. It's always good banter. The jokes always fly around. Just make sure you're on the same stream, because remember, lads, we've always got that over Nadji Karar when he was on a different stream to us with the Trey Lance. And I think you mouthed something at the screen, Lee, about a certain quarterback that, Mac Jones.
No. I didn't mouth the wrong quarterback's name. Obviously, I don't know why, but my stream was ahead of everybody else's. So I saw we'd picked Trey Lance, which I was obviously happy about.
Breaking news, Connor Ryan has just texted me, and those guys out in Kansas have met Joe Staley. He's signed him an autograph, and they've dropped it in the group. Sitting at the bar, Ryan says, "Holy SHIT, that's Joe Staley." And he's autographed, and so just goes to show that you're on about this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Yeah. Sorry, I just had to interrupt and share that on there.
Yeah, that's fine. That's absolutely excellent. So that was the type of thing that I was hoping would happen to them. Something like that's going to make it incredibly memorable. I think it's memorable anyway, going to the draft, especially as a guest of the 49ers, to be in the inner circle and see, obviously, at the draft, at the sides, you've got all these seats that people pay for with bags of goodies on there. But those seats are £2.5 grand each. That's how much they cost. It's really expensive to get into that part of the draft. And then the inner circle, which is even better seating, that's where you have to be invited by the organisation. So to be invited into the inner circle, to get the seats so close to the stadium and not have to pay £2.5 grand, and then still get a nice little bag of goodies, it's unbelievable experience. Something that you'll never ever forget.
So Neil Graham has dropped in there about Lamar, and then Luke has confirmed.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Neil, my non-49er friends are lighting my phone up because they were having a bit of fun when it looked like we were trading for Lamar. So I'm having a bit of banter with them on
We
there.
were never ever trading for Lamar.
No, I know, mate, but he has lost Rodgers to the Jets, so I can understand he's feeling a bit salty, and I could understand where the comments are coming from. But Luke,
I'm sure that John Lynch is sitting there 4:30. He said, "Oh, I've got to kill a bit of time before I finish for the day." You know what? I'm going to phone the Ravens GM, and the smoke and mirrors. I'm so impressed with Lynch. Says a lot of things and says nothing. I think the players that have. If Lynch is talking about trading a player, we're not going for him. You've got to watch for the ones that we're not being talked about. Because I heard the Ayuk talk, and I think he has fielded calls, and I do think there is some sort of outside chance that we do trade a player, but it will be the one that you don't hear anything about. Or if we potentially
Juwan Jennings. Watch for that. Watch for that one. But you make a good point. What I have noticed over the last few drafts, you get a lot of reports about who the 49ers are speaking to and how many times they've spoken to a certain players. It tends to be the people that you don't hear about. And that's who they go for.
Every player that's available, I think we do. Say, we've looked at it and people think, we're going to trade Lamar Jackson. But John Lynch is doing his job if he phones up and says, well, what are you asking for him? Because it's all about finding the market, and it's all a little bit about smoke and mirrors. And ultimately, the draft is competitive. We are still competing against other teams. And if you can throw those teams off, if you can make GMs second guess their tactics, I think it's all a bit of mind games. And I think Lynch is really good at it.
Yeah, I mean, it's within John Lynch's best interest for every other team in the NFL to think he needs a player at every single position, including quarterback. And the more he makes people think it's a bigger need than what it is, then the higher up picks, that like the third rounders that we've got, if there's any quarterbacks around there and people are thinking like 110, 115 to take them somewhere around there, they may offer stupid draft picks to trade up. And it kind of puts other people off the centre what you're really going for as well.
That's it. So,
how much dead cap if we trade Debo? 28 million.
I was about to say, I've just Googled it there, and it ranges between 28 to 35 million. So dependent on...
Debo's not going anywhere.
But no, just wanted to answer that question there.
Yeah.
Do you think there's going to be any carnage tonight? Do you think something's odd is going to happen? Like maybe the Texans not drafting a quarterback?
I don't think the Texans will draft a quarterback at 2. In fact, sorry, no, that's not entirely right. If they do draft a quarterback at 2, I don't think it's going to be C.J. Stroud, who many believe will go second. I believe what some of the analysts are saying about this free fall for C.J. Stroud, and I can well see that. I think they might take a quarterback. I actually think it might be around with the 12th pick rather than the second pick.
I've heard that. My friend Mike, who's a Rams fan, was texting me yesterday, Gareth, and he doesn't think the Texans take a QB at 2. He thinks they wait to 12, and like you said, Lee. So, I mean, obviously, the caveat was Trey Lance.
Unless the Panthers go in another direction. I think that's true. But I think if Ryan's has seen what happened with Robert Saleh's first pick, which was Zach Wilson, and it's maybe that's clouded him. But I think if he's clever, he can get the Colts to twitch, and they can swap with the Colts, and he can probably still get the player he wants. And I think that could set off a bit of a chain reaction if he does, and potentially stir things up. Because you're right, he might even be able to then get whatever he's got from the Colts and move up from 12 or something, and perhaps get a quarterback at 8 or 9. And I think the little bit of that Purdy effect, people are thinking, well, actually, we can get some of these good, experienced guys we could train up later on in the draft. It doesn't have to be a top 10 pick. We can get a guy who's gonna be good for us.
All right, so this is a little bit old. This is from 2020. So well, I get that on there. There we go.
Did you save
showing?
our
No,
mock
it's not
draft,
showing.
Lee? Did you save an
showing.
image of the mock draft?
I hope you did.
Give us a second. Yeah, I'll save that. There you go.
Yeah,
Download.
we need to put it on the group.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
on Twitter, because I want to see people's feedback, because we've teased that we're doing the mock draft tonight, Gareth. So it'll be interesting to see what people think.
How well can you see that?
I'll go
That
full
looks-
screen.
That looks blurry to me, but I could have my nose against the screen. It's still going to look blurry to me. Okay, so number 2 pick, 2,600 points there. If they move down, whereabouts are the Colts picking?
4.
4. So they'd end up having to give up something like their first and a second.
Or
Maybe it's a bit
a future
expensive, that.
first.
Or a future first.
Do the Texans have 2 first-round picks next year as well? Can't remember
Yes.
where
So
they
Di-
went from Watson. So
Yeah, so David's put there, Gareth, that if he's the Texans, he waits next year to take Caleb
Yeah.
Williams or Drake May and build the
Yeah.
defense this year.
D'Amico, that's a
I-
D'Amico move.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. That's where I think the Texans are going to go. I think they're going to go defense. Because you've seen how well it's worked for the 49ers. That's how we built the team over the first 3-4 seasons. It was always defensive line. And that gave us the cornerstone, that gave us the foundation to have the team and the roster that we have at the moment. And it's worked really well, and we keep on going back to it, which is why everybody jokes about what's the betting that the very first pick is going to be defensive lineman.
So is that what you're saying? The headline is John Lynch was right to take Thomas at 3 and let all those QBs go in that first draft. I'm
Hindsight is great.
Yeah.
There was more than just the 49ers that passed on those quarterbacks. It's just like going back to Brady that everybody says. All the teams passed on Brady. All the teams passed on Brady 5 times, at least 5 times they passed on Brady. So to use that argument, well, there's a really good quarterback further down the draft that you can have. It's a moot point. You don't know what you're getting because it's a gamble. You can say the first few picks are as near enough to guarantee to being okay, to being decent. But one thing you have to remember about Solomon Thomas as well, they played him out of position as soon as they drafted him. He was an interior defensive lineman, and they had him playing at defensive end. So straight away, they had him playing in a foreign position in the NFL, where he's trying to get up to speed. To me, we had production out of Solomon Thomas. We didn't have number 3 pick overall production out of Solomon Thomas, which is why he gets slated so much, why people call him a bust. He's not a bust. We had some good play from him. He was a decent starter. He just was not worth that number 3 pick.
Yeah.
I'm just messing with your GM. Don't
Oh,
worry,
no.
I've got your back.
Paul, I don't take any of that personally. What I'm trying to say is, I see it all online, and it does annoy us when people make these statements about players being busts because they weren't elite players. How many elite players are taken in the top 10? I mean, I would imagine that it's a decent amount, but it's not all of them. And when I say a decent amount, I think it's like baseball. To be successful at baseball, you have to hit the ball 1 in every 3 shots. So like a .300 average hitting the ball is considered to be really good for a batter, right? It's exactly the same in the draft. In my mind, it's exactly the same in the draft. For the top 10, top 15, if you hit on a third of those, then you're laughing. But then you've got 2/3 that aren't going to hit. It's a gamble. It is a gamble, which is why I like the fact that they paid so much money for Yvonne Hargrave. I like that because he's a proven commodity. We know what we're getting in him. We've seen his production. It's not so much a risk, and we're going to pay players anyway. So when I look at the draft, I always see, you know what? Let's just take the players that the front office like. It might not be the best player at the position. It might not be the best player in the draft at that particular point. I remember Bill Walsh saying, so somebody had questioned Bill Walsh. I can't remember who it was. I think it was about Jerry Rice. Well, why did you take him that high up? Because it was the player I wanted. I don't care about the other players. That was the player I wanted, and that was the need I wanted to fill.
It kind of worked out for him, I think, as well, didn't it? From what I remember.
I think it did, yeah. I think he had a decent career.
Well, Well, David's agreeing with you, I think, about Solomon Thomas. And Luke has thrown in there that it's not the player that's usually the bust, it's the GM, the owners. And like you said, when Gareth started the show and he said he wasn't really feeling it. I haven't got into the draft hype this year, but I'll be honest, I've enjoyed it. I said to Lee on Tuesday, Gareth, when we traded up for number 3 and you set us the task and we had to go away and look at the quarterbacks and you had Trey Lance, I had Justin Fields. I really enjoyed doing that deep dive. But this year I've quite enjoyed just sitting back, watching the content creators, watching the stuff on Twitter, and then coming tonight and doing the mock draft. I'm glad this is the first one I've done, Lee, because it's got me in the mood tonight.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to seeing where I know last year we kind of all got a bit competitive and we were doing many and sending them in the group chat. But David's put on there, he agrees Rice turned out all right. So we can all agree.
I think their consensus opinion is he had a reasonable career. Do you think any GMs are going to have a bit of a panic tonight if there's a bit of an upheaval? I am curious to see what the Patriots do. They now have the worst quarterback in their division, and they've not been in that position this century. I do wonder if there's some sort of twitch there, because they're not used to picking. They were really good at picking in the middle rounds, but suddenly they've...
Yeah, there's been a lot of noise about them not being particularly happy with McCorkle Jones. Yeah. My McCorkle Jones.
Yeah,
who I picked up 2 years ago. In other words, I drew the short straw. Yeah, I mean, they're not happy with him. I mean, looking at his attitude, and I don't think he's a particularly tough player either. They could move on from him, but where they're going to go, who they're going to pick. They're certainly not going to come for Trey Lance. I can guarantee you that. He doesn't have enough experience. He needs development. He needs... I think he needs 2 full seasons starting to develop properly.
Well, there's the name for you. David believes Belichick loves Will Levis. So
yeah.
You could see that.
So that's interesting. I mean, over in the UK, we would say Levi's. Not Levis. Or Levis. No, I'm just picking out the...
I was just keeping in theme with the start of the show, Lee. I listened to Gareth at the start. Come on, that's the theme running through.
I've got to admit, I've completely missed that, because I don't think you've mispronounced many names incorrectly.
Well,
I'm just clutching at straws.
I was kind of hoping that defensive end would come up. That Wayne Breezy posted saying he posted a vote on Instagram saying, "Would you like us to draft this player?" And I commented saying, "Absolutely not. That name would be an absolute nightmare to announce on the podcast." And I forgot to have a look for that person while we were actually doing the draft. I think he must have gone in the top 100 somewhere, but it was Ekene Enechukwu.
Is he a Michigan player? I think I've seen that kicking about. I might be wrong with the college.
I'm not sure. Let me quickly Google that.
I'm sure we'd have butchered it.
I'm convinced there's somebody in the comments there who can tell us that straight away without me. Enechukwu.
Well, I think perhaps it was all for the best that we didn't get Zacharuni, because certainly with the UK faithful, the shirt sales would be through the roof, I'm sure. We'd have to retire Club 85 and come up with #bunch of coons. So,
Rice. He plays for Rice.
This is why you get the big bucks, Gareth, you see. This is why you're the hostess with the mostess. And Luke's put there that he doesn't want Seattle to draft Jalen Carter or Will Anderson. So
this had gone past me, but Seattle have got something like 5 picks in the top 83. Now, that is quite a haul. I know it obviously worked out with Denver being utterly terrible. But that does give me a little bit concerned, because let's face it, the Rams and the Cardinals are just a mess at the moment, I think. I don't know Kyler Murray. I don't know. They've got pick 3, but they want to get out of it, and I think they might be stuck with it. And then I think they might blow it. So,
yeah, I think you're right. I mean, the Seattle Seahawks are going to be our closest rivals next season, or at least looking in at the moment, they're going to be our closest rivals. You're right about the Rams and the Cardinals. They're a bit of a shower at the moment. I don't think either one of those are going to be competitive next season. But even looking back at the Seahawks, people talk about Geno Smith and how good he was last season. He was good for the first 6 or 7 games, and they won those games by some debatable some debatable officiating, and they were close games. The second half of the season, they were trash. And I think, what wasn't he got comeback player of the year?
Yeah, which was a bit of a joke.
Ridiculous.
I know they didn't
Absolutely
have the
ridiculous.
depth, and I think the injuries contributed to them trading off. But I'm very happy if they don't trade a quarterback because Gino just does not scare me, particularly in a playoff game.
Yeah, it doesn't me.
He-
And I'd like to see Metcalf get upset again.
So, chaps, and now run 40. We've done the mock draft.
40.
We've butchered some names. We've had a lot of fun. Anything else that we want to touch upon before we let these good people get on with the rest of their night? Whatever's left on this side of the pond, anyway.
Well, I'm going to reach out to Nick Ludlam so he can tell us all about these cards. I'm not going to do it tonight, though, because I'm going to go downstairs and watch Draft Day, surprisingly. And then I think I'll try and grab a couple of hours because I do like to get up and watch the first few picks come in. I do. So just in case something strange happens.
I do think there could be some interest, particularly if the Texans don't suddenly, particularly some of those other people down in that kind of 10-15 who might have been looking at a quarterback and thought we'll never get one. Yeah. And suddenly if the Texans don't take one and the Cardinals are stuck with their pick and they don't take one, I could suddenly see a lot of phones ringing and some deals trying to be done for that kind of suddenly 6, 7, 8 might be really valuable.
See, there's part of me thinks that if we get down to 12 and the Texans are not particularly... They didn't take a quarterback at 2 and they get to 12 and there's nothing they really fancy there. There's a real outside chance. I think it's more than likely going to be pick 34 rather than pick 12. But there's a real outside chance there that they might ring up about Lance. But then my head's also telling us, well, we can't pick anybody at that spot anyway because we just can't afford them. We just don't have the cap space for them, which means we then have to get rid of somebody else. But the person that we have to get rid of is going to be one of our good players. So I just don't see it. I don't see it, but we know what Parag Marath's like. He is a wizard. He went to Hogwarts. He's got to have gone to Hogwarts because it's just magic what he does with that cap space. I just hope it doesn't come back to bite us in a couple of years because of all the void years that keep on going on to players' contracts. That is the one thing I'm concerned about.
I do think that's the modern NFL, though. The way that the player contracts are going, and it depends how you do that hoping that the TV money is going to bump each year. I think obviously COVID put a bit of a dent in that because unheard of, the cap went down one year, and I think that threw quite a lot of people, like potentially like the Rams, that must have thrown them off. And I think you're always on that kind of treadmill, hoping that your player contracts will never catch up with the cap. But who knows? But I do think it's so difficult to just keep that team and keep those players together that sometimes the art is going to be keeping them together for a window of 3 or 4 years, and then you have to let someone go and you have to maybe do a little reset. Or this is where you go, you've got to have a cheap quarterback room, and we're right there at the moment.
Yeah, I think this is one of the things I said 2-3 seasons back. It is going to get to the point where we are going to have to let players go, which the fans are not going to be happy about. And we are going to have a percentage of fans that understand that. We're also going to have a percentage of fans that say it's mismanagement and don't understand that. It's because they don't understand how building the team works.
Well, we touched upon it in our pod a couple of weeks ago, chaps. We said you can't have all 22, can't have all pros at 22 positions across. You've got it. You can't pay everyone. John Lynch has said that himself. And like Lamar Jackson's deal makes him the highest paid player in the league over Hurts. Mahomes' contract will be due next year, and the quarterbacks are going to keep getting paid and paid and paid. And like you said, Gareth, if that salary cap doesn't keep up, but it's part of why we love the NFL. I mean, I have friends who like the Premier League moaning that Man City have bought the Premier League and the financial fair play. And you look at the Championship League, one of the hardest divisions for you to get out of. But you come to the NFL and you can't pay everybody. If you do what the Rams did, and they won one Super Bowl and their fans have enjoyed it, but how many years is it going to be before they're back being relevant now? They took a gamble, hasn't paid off. So
I think the Rams are a mess because even if you're in the certain position they are, if you've got some young players to build around, then you can go. But who are they building around? They've got nothing. Their top players are Stafford and Donald, who are old and expensive, and they're going to go. So there's not even something to build around. for me. I think they're going to be in a bit of a mess, and we'll see what Sean McVay does. He's never had to build a team. He's bought his team from the day he got there, whereas Shanahan built the team from nothing. I'm not saying McVay can't do it, but just we haven't seen it.
And as Jess has come in there before we finish off, at least the Rodgers and Jackson talk can be put to rest. But to be fair, chaps, I've had an absolute blast. I mean, an hour and 45, we must be pushing one of our records, Lee. It's probably not the longest, but it's approaching.
We did have one that went over 2 hours once. We did. I think that was when there was 6 of us. That was an epic podcast, that. But I did warn you early on, guys. I did set your expectations. I thought this was going to be between 90 minutes and 120 minutes.
Well, there we go. I think we've covered about everything. I think we've covered everything in the comments, isn't it? So yeah, great to see a load of people engaging tonight.
Thank you very much. It's been much appreciated.
Shouting into the YouTube ether with nobody watching. It's good to know that other people haven't got anything better to do on a Thursday evening either. So.
I think it's a good, it's a very good build up to the draft. Because even though we've said it, we don't have a pick, but it's still an exciting day for us. I know that would sound sad to anybody that doesn't follow NFL, but it is an exciting day. It's like a transfer window. I mean, the transfer window in world football, I will stop up until that transfer window closes in the hope that Sunderland sign anyone. And every transfer window, I am really disappointed that we don't sign anyone.
Well, like I said, Gareth, before we finish off, Ted Talks Ball is working his way through the 49 FAFL UK. Yeah. I'm jumping on again for like my 5th or 6th appearance tomorrow, but he's definitely up for people to jump on. So I'd love to see you go on there, Gareth. We can't keep you ourselves. Yeah, so I'll pass your details on. Martin has had a bath and everything whilst being watching, but he hopes the camera isn't too way.
We'd have been struck off YouTube by then.
So, and as Lucas put there, Lee, he'll see you in a few hours. But no, honestly, everyone who joins in, the comments do help us get through the show. Please do like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, and come back for more, because we're going to be going bigger and better from now on.
So I'm just going to set Luke's expectations there. The virtual watch party is tomorrow night, not tonight. It's for rounds 2 and 3, not rounds 1. Although I might be in the group live.
So, and we'll probably be back next week. Hopefully Nadji can join us, and I think we'll be digesting some picks.
I think without a shadow of a doubt, we'll be back next week.
Digesting if there has been any carnage at the top end of the round and anything particularly entertaining happening. I usually look forward to the Raiders picks, but maybe they're going to be a bit more sensible because they're usually worth a laugh.
I think I might do a special live show once we draft Michael Wilson in the early hours of Saturday.
One of your legendary slightly drunken Facebook lives.
I have not had a drink for almost 3 weeks, so I will not be drunk. It'll be a sober Facebook live. Maybe.
Well then, I think we should wrap it up.
Yeah,
thanks
we should.
And thanks for joining me, guys. Sorry you couldn't be with us, Nadji. We've missed you, but hopefully you'll catch us on we'll catch you on the next show. So until then, let's have a good draft and go Niners.
Bang bang Niner gang.
We love the San Francisco 49ers deep in the heart. Like Joe Montana in the corner, deep card. Garrison Hurst, stiff farm going 99. Don't get it twisted.